Krishna, everyone, and a warm welcome back to our continued series on the glories of our beloved Sri Vrindavan Dham. Namo Om Vishnu Padaya, Krishna Pashtaya Bhutale, Srimati Bhaktivedanta Swami Niti Namane, Namaste Saraswati Deve, Gauravani Pacharane, Nivishesha Shunyavadi, Pasita Deshatarane. All glories to Shri Prabhupada. So, in our last class, we mentioned how we would be, we would continue lecturing on the 8 Asta Sakhis of Vrindavan, Srimati Radharani's closest maidservants. So today we will discuss Tungavidya Sakhi, Tungavidya Sakhi. And as we've been doing, we will conclude with a popular pastime of hers here in Sri Vrindavan Dham. Now, in the Gaur Govinda Archana Shmarda Padati by Dhyanachandra Goswami, it is stated that 5,000 years ago, during Krishna's pastimes, Tungavidya appeared in the village of Dabra Raro, and her parents were Pushkara and Medadevi, and that she is 14 years 2 months and 22 days old. It also mentions that in that scripture that Radharani is 14 years, 2 months and 15 days old, which would mean that Tungavidya is 7 days older than Sri Radha. However, I was also reading Radha Krishna Gunadisha Deepika by Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami, and he says therein that Tungavidya is 15 days older than Sri Radha. Hare Krishna. So Tungavidya's complexion is the color of kumkuma, and the fragrance of her body is like sandalwood mixed with camphor. Her dress is the color of pandu mandana, which means like a pale yellow, and she's described as very hot-tempered by nature, and expert in resolving arguments. Her husband's name is Balisha. It's also described that she's very learned in the 18 branches of Vedic knowledge, and expert at arranging meetings with the divine couple. She's also very learned in Rasa Shastra, which means the Shastra dealing with transcendental mellows. She also knows very well Niti Shastra, or the Shastra of logic and reasoning and morality, as well as dancing, drama, literature, and actually all other arts and sciences. She is a celebrated music teacher. She's expert at playing the veena, and she sings in a particular style known as marga. Furthermore, her 8 gopi messengers are headed by Manju Meda Devi, and they're all expert at arranging political alliances in the art of what is described as, quote, politics between Radha and Krishna. They can make alliances in the politics between Radha and Krishna, which are numerous. That's what we've been discussing for many months now. Now, I was also reading that her assistants are the best dancers in Vrindavan. They're also musicians, expert at playing mridanga. And they can also sing very nicely, particularly, Scripture says, in recital halls. That's interesting, recital halls. Now, again, Gaur Govinda Archana Shmarna Padati describes that Tungavidya's specific kunj or grove out there at Radhakund is extremely beautiful, and it's of a crimson color. And that kunj possesses a specific bhav known as vipra labd dhatva. And this is the mood or the bhav of a gopi who is very distressed at heart because her lover Krishna has not arrived on time for the secret meeting. And the behavior of such a gopi is marked by despondency, anxiety, lamentation, weeping, fainting, and sighing. All, of course, on the transcendental platform to increase their love for Radha and Krishna. An example of this is given in Nectar of Devotion, that once a certain gopi said to her friend, quote, "O Doe-Eyed Sakhi, as surely as the moon has risen, have we not been deceived by the Lord of Lakshmi? In this situation, what shall we do? You please give me some advice. Krishna has not come." In saying this, she became depressed. Now, once more quoting Gaur Govinda Archana Smarana Padati, verse 283, there's a beautiful verse which you could say summarizes all these things we've been mentioning about Tungavidya. I thought to include it because it's so beautiful. Quote, "I worship the very Rasik Tungavidya, who is adorned with sandalwood paste mixed with camphor. Her beautiful saffron-colored body is decorated with many fine jeweled ornaments. She delights in wearing a lovely red dress, and she has many wonderful qualities. She knows many transcendental songs, and she dances before Sri Hari to the beat of a dumpha drum, unquote." Tungavidya Sakhi ki. I'd also like to mention here, before we move on, that Tungavidya Sakhi appeared in this material world during the pastimes of Lord Chaitanya, as did the other Sakhis, 500 years ago. And she appeared as the illustrious, one of our heroes, Srila Prabodhananda Saraswati, who we very often quote, who we know was an associate of Lord Chaitanya. Now in Gaura Gonadesha Dipika, text 163, Srila Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami says, "Tungavidya Braja Yasit Sarva Shastra Vi Sharada Shri Prabodhananda Yatir Ghorad Gona Saraswati." Beautiful. Quote, "She who was previously known in the pastimes of Krishna in Braj as Tungavidya, who is fully conversant with all scriptures, has now become Prabodhananda Saraswati and is engaged in singing the glories of Lord Gauranga." So there it's confirmed. Now, as we've discussed before, Srila Prabodhananda Saraswati left us so many important books, like Vrindavan Mahimamrita, Radharasa Sudinidhi, Sangita Madhava, Chaitanya Chandramrita, and Navadvip Sataka. And Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur refers to the writings of Srila Prabodhananda Saraswati as follows, quote, "The moods and sentiments, bhava samuha, of Srila Prabodhananda Saraswati are quite distinct," he writes. "His language is simultaneously filled with sobriety and sweetness. All the devotees who have accepted shelter at the feet of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu get pleasure beyond measure by reciting regularly Srila Prabodhananda Saraswati's Vrindavan Mahimamrita." And isn't it true? So many times we've quoted him in our lectures on Sri Vrindavan Dham. We can also mention a detail that Srila Prabodhananda Saraswati was the guru of Srila Gopal Bhatta Goswami. Where's that stated? That's stated in Hari Bhakti Vilas, one of our main scriptures, 1:2, and I quote, "Gopal Bhatta, a disciple of Srila Prabodhananda, is a dear associate of Lord Chaitanya, and he is compiling the Hari Bhakti Vilas to please Srila Rupa Goswami, Srila Sanatana Goswami, and Srila Raghunath Das Goswami." Let's recite that again. Gopal Bhatta, a disciple of Srila Prabodhananda, a dear associate of Lord Chaitanya, is compiling the Hari Bhakti Vilas to please Srila Rupa Goswami, Srila Sanatana Goswami, and Srila Raghunath Das Goswami. Srila Jiva Goswami confirms the same fact, that Srila Prabodhananda Saraswati was the guru of Gopal Bhatta Goswami in his famous book called Vaishnava Vandana. Vaishnava Vandana. I was reading this the other day in the Institute. It's verse number 7. He writes, quote, I offer my humble obeisances unto the spotless Srila Prabodhananda Saraswati, who joyfully compiled Chaitanya Chandramrita and whose disciple is Srila Gopal Bhatta Goswami. Hare Krishna. Srila Prabodhananda Saraswati ki, Shri Tungavidya Sakhi ki jai. Interesting information. So, as promised, the following is a very beautiful pastime of Tungavidya Sakhi called Yogan Leela. Yogan Leela, which the Brajabasis recount whenever discussing the glories of Tungavidya Sakhi. Here it is. One time, Tungavidya went to a well in Vrindavan to fetch water and was very surprised to find Krishna there. He was also taking water from the same well. Now, upon seeing Tungavidya, Krishna said, my dear Tungavidya, I'm sorry, but this well belongs to me, and you cannot take water from it without paying a tax equivalent to the amount of water you take. Now, Tungavidya became very upset, very upset. And she said to Krishna, Krishna, this is not right. I'm going to make sure that you don't see Srimati Radharani for a long time as your punishment for dealing with me in this way. I'm going to make sure you don't see Radha for a long time. And she stormed off to Varshana to complain to her queen, Srimati Radharani. So when she came before Sri Radha, she said, dearest Radharani, we gopis are fed up with Shamasundar's activities. He asks us for taxes wherever we go. Sometimes he taxes us on the banks of the Jamuna, sometimes on the road to Varshana, and at other times in the gardens where we go to pick flowers. Now he wants to tax us when we take water from water wells. The day is not far off, Sri Radha, when he will ask us to pay taxes for breathing air or eating food. She said like that. So Srimati Radharani, she replied, my dear Tungavidya, do not worry. I will talk to Shyamasundar about this. So after speaking with Sri Radha, Tungavidya was, making her plan, her scheme somehow that, Krishna wasn't going to come and see Radharani. She's going to make that work on that plan. And as she was thinking in this way, she was walking on her way home through the Vrindavan forest, when suddenly she heard a very beautiful bhajan. And looking around, she saw an effulgent lady ascetic, let us say a yogini, sitting in saffron clothes with an iktara instrument in her hands. And iktara is a musical instrument that we see here in India, which has only one string. And somehow they play it, and it sounds beautiful. So this yogini was singing a bhajan in a very sweet voice. So curious, Tungavidya approached the yogini and she said, dear one, you appear so exalted and charming, and your voice is mesmerizing. Please come with me. I will take you back to the palace of King Bhishamana and Mother Kirtida Sundari. Surely they will give an ascetic like you a donation in charity. But the yogini, she said, very angrily, I have no desire for charity. But Tungavidya, tried to pacify her by saying, my dear yogini, it will bring pleasure to the king and queen of Varshana if you offer a little service to them. Kindly come with me. But again the yogini hesitated. And she replied, but I'm a renunciate. How can I enter a palace? Then she said something which is really, it's really touched my heart. It's become one of the statements, I think, which will forever remain within my heart. It's something so wonderful, she said. And here's what she said, the yogini. Having accepted the renounced order of life, my home is this Vrindavan forest. My bed is the soft dust of Vrindavan. The sky of Vrindavan is my blanket, and the flowering creepers of Vrindavan are my only belongings. The moon over Vrindavan is the lamp of my hopes, and my chanting beads are counting the days until I meet the divine couple, Shishi, Radha, and Krishna. Hare Krishna. I'll recite it again. Having accepted the renounced order of life, my home is this Vrindavan forest. My bed is the soft dust of Vrindavan. The sky of Vrindavan is my blanket, and the flowering creepers of Vrindavan are my only belongings. The moon over Vrindavan is the lamp of my hopes, and my chanting beads are counting the days until I meet the divine couple, Shishi, Radha, and Krishna. That's like my mission statement now in life. Hare Krishna. Anyway, but with Tungavidya's insistence, the yogini, she said, okay, I'll go. Now when they arrived at Varshana, Tungavidya ran into the palace and called out to Mother Kirtita Sundari, Mother Kirtita, a most beautiful, exalted, young yogini has come to your doorstep. Please come and greet her. So hearing this news, Kirtita Sundari, Radharani's mother, quickly came with countless maidservants to take darshan of this very interesting yogini. She paid her obeisances to her and then washed her feet with milk and rose water. Such culture we have in Krishna consciousness. Afterwards, the yogini said, Queen Kirtita Sundari, I am pleased with your service and your hospitality. Ask me whatever you want me to do, and I will do my best to give it to you. But Mother Kirtita Sundari, she said, my dear sadhvi, we have sadhus and sadhvis, means the lady sadhus. My dear sadhvi, I have everything by your mercy. I have filled my home with riches and many items of all good fortune. In every corner of my house there is unlimited wealth. I only ask for your blessings. I only ask for your blessings. I have a daughter in whom all the pleasures of the world reside, but she has been sick for many days. She has a chronic disease which causes me to worry about her. Please bless her. She has a chronic disease which causes me to worry about her. Please bless her. So when the yogini asked Kirtita Sundari for the name of this particular disease that her daughter, Sri Radha, was suffering from, Mother Kirtita Sundari replied, well, I have called upon so many physicians, so many doctors, but not one can understand what particular disease she has. But the symptoms are there. The symptoms are very clear. So the yogini said, what are the symptoms of her disease? So Kirtita Sundari said, well, at night she calls out in her sleep, Yamuna, Yamuna, Kunja, Kunja, Murli, Murli. as if she's mad. Yamuna, Yamuna, Kunja, Kunja, Murli, Murli. A very word for her. So then the young yogini smiled and asked Mother Kirtida, does she sometimes call out, "Oh Sham, oh Sham, oh Sham," in her sleep? And Mother Kirtida Sundar replied, yes, yes she does. How do you know that? So the yogini replied, because I know very much about this disease. I'm expert in curing this disease, and I can cure your daughter from this disease. So please call her here. So Mother Kirtida Sundari, she ran and she found Radharani and brought her there quickly. And Radharani came with all of her Sakhis. And Kirtida Sundari, she paid obeisances to the yogini. Then she had Sri Radha pay obeisances to the yogini. And the yogini asked Radha about her well-being. Then the yogini said to Mother Kirtida, all right, let us begin here. The treatment is as follows. Please ask your daughter to dance with me. I know a few dance movements from the Vedas, by which all negative energy and possible black magic can be banished from your daughter, and her disease will be cured. So when Radharani heard this, she kind of hesitated. She said, no, I'm sorry, I will not dance with someone like this ascetic yogini. So Mother Kirtida asked the yogini, well, if my daughter doesn't want to dance with you, is it possible for me to dance with you on behalf of my daughter, Sri Radha? So hearing this, the yogini, she became flustered, and she got up and she started walking away. But all the Sakhis, they ran after her, and with sweet words they begged her to come back and stay. But the yogini was adamant. She said to everyone, if you want me to cure the queen's daughter, then only the daughter can dance with me. Then she'll be cured, I promise you. I'm expert at this. So once again, Kirtida Sundari, she begged her daughter actually, please Sri Radha, dance with the yogini and become cured of this madness where you're calling out these names at nighttime. With such passion, by the way. So to please her mother, Kirtida Sundari, Radha, eventually reluctantly agreed. And as she started dancing with this yogini, she was very close to the yogini, and she asked her a few questions as they're dancing. She said, my dear ascetic lady, how is it that you're a renunciate, but I see your eyes are dark with coryllium, kajal? How are you a renunciate? You've got kajal in your eyes, coryllium in your eyes, decorated very nicely. So the yogini replied, well, Sri Radha, one time when I was traveling in the Himalayan mountains, I met a sadhu who told me that if I put kajal in my eyes each day, made from almonds and different herbs, I will always be blessed with the association of the Lord's devotees. So Radharani kind of gave this quizzical look, and like, what? And then she said, dearest yogini, please tell me why you are chewing betel. Renunciates do not chew betel. So the yogi explained, dear Radha, I was on my way to the Jamuna one day when a sadhu came up and gave me some betel prasadam from Lord Narayan. He said if I did not respect it, I would be making an offense to the Lord. That is why I'm eating this betel nut. So Radharani is getting a little suspicious here. She continued with her questions to the yogini as they danced. She said, my dear Sadhvi, where are you from? And the yogini replied, I come from the forest of prema. I come from the forest of prema. Shri Vrindavan Dham Ki. Then Shri Radha asked, and which sampradaya are you initiated into? So the yogini replied, I am initiated into the sampradaya of prema. Shri Radha is surprised. Then Shri Radha asked, and who is your guru? So the yogini replied, my guru is Prema Murti. Now when I was reading this, there was one acharya, he commented that the Prema Murti is actually Shri Radha herself. So the yogini replied, my guru is Prema Murti, like you. So then Shri Radha asked, my dear Sadhvi, why is it that you have taken renunciation at such a young age? So the yogini replied, I have taken renunciation at such a young age to find real love of God. So Shri Radha, she moved in closer to the yogini and she asked, Sadhvi, please tell me something more about yourself. So the yogini smiled and she said, I am from another country, but I left everything behind there. My pleasure, my sense gratification, my opulences, my comfort, my relatives, my family, everything. The truth is, I left everything just to achieve the goddess of love. Just to achieve the goddess of love. Who is that? And after that, Radha asked her, and what will you do if later on you somehow become attached to the material world again because you renounce the world at such a young age? It might happen. So the yogini said, because I have tasted the sweetness of all rasas, I will never fall back into the sour and bitter taste of this material world. Then Shri Radha paused for a moment and asked her, and what, dear one, is the true reality of everything? So the yogini smiled and she said, Shri Radha, true reality is to sit next to you and appreciate that you have the most beautiful eyes in all the three worlds. That's what the yogini said. True reality is to sit next to you and appreciate that you have the most beautiful eyes in all the three worlds. Then the yogini became very emotional and a flood of tears came from her eyes and she started calling out, "Oh Radhe, I am yours! Oh Radhe, I am yours! I am yours!" And then she fell unconscious. And everyone present just stood like statues, appreciating this yogini's deep love for Srimati Radharani. When suddenly, as Tungavidya Sakhi came forward to comfort the yogini, she saw to her great surprise a flute. Again, a flute sticking out of the small bag that the yogini had draped over her shoulder. A flute. And at that moment, Tungavidya understood Krishna had tricked her. She said, "I'm not going to let you come together." But Krishna had tricked her and all the others. Tungavidya understood that the yogini was none other than Sri Krishna himself, disguised as a lady ascetic. And when she realized this, and all the gopis realized this, they all cheered, as they often do when Radha and Krishna are united in their pastimes of love. Hare Krishna. So wonderful. So one acharya writes, and I will conclude, quote, "I will worship disguised Krishna, who entertained Radha and her Sakhis with his playful pastimes. I offer my respectful obeisances again and again to the Sakhis, whose ultimate goal is always to reunite the divine couple in the forest of Vrindavan. Shri Brajavumi Shri Vrindavan Dham ki, Tungavidya Sakhi ki, Srila Prabodhananda Saraswati ki, Srila Prabhupada, the revealer of the Dham ki jai. What more can be said? It's pure nectar. Yes, I'll be back again in a couple days, and I think we have 2 of the Asta Sakhis to discuss. We have 2 more lectures on the Asta Sakhis. Thank you so much. Shri Shri Gaur Nitai ki, Shri Shri Krishna Balaram ki, Shri Shri Radhasham Sundar ki, Vrindavan Ishwari Shrimati Radharani ki, the Asta Sakhis of Vrindavan ki, Tungavidya Sakhi ki, Shri Mayapur Dhama ki, Shri Shri Gaur Nitai ki, Shri Krishna Sankirtan Yagya ki, Gaur Premanandi, Shri Prabhupada ki, Jai Jai Sri Sri Radhe.